Have you ever really thought about what it takes to get something from point A to point B? I mean, really thought about it? Today, we're diving into what might be the world's biggest logistical puzzle, Africa's road network. This isn't just about traffic. This is about a system that holds the key to unlocking staggering economic potential. So to really get our heads around this, we're going to follow the journey of just one shipping container. And I want you to forget everything you know about smooth highways and next-day delivery. This is a story of grit, bureaucracy, and frankly, unbelievable cost. Okay, so here's our mission, and on paper it sounds simple enough. Get this container from a bustling coastal port, say Mombasa in Kenya, deep into the continent to a landlocked country like Uganda or Rwanda. For places like these, you gotta understand, road transport isn't just one of the options, it is the lifeline. But before our truck's engine even turns over, it's already up against a massive challenge: geography. See, a huge chunk of the continent is this vast, high plateau that then drops, often steeply, down to the coast. Building direct, efficient roads to connect the two, well, that's a monumental engineering and financial undertaking. All right, our container is loaded, and the truck finally hits the open road. But out here, you quickly realize the first major obstacle isn't going to be traffic jams. No, it's the road itself. Let me put this into perspective for you. A trip that you might make in a few hours on a European motorway could easily stretch into several days here. The time just evaporates, and it's almost entirely because of the state of the infrastructure. And the difference is just night and day. On one hand, you've got the predictable, smooth, high-speed networks you might be used to. On the other, many of these absolutely critical African routes are unpaved, or they're just riddled with potholes that inflict a constant, brutal punishment on the vehicles. And we are not talking about a minor inconvenience here. The wear and tear is so bad that a single long-haul trip can mean the truck needs a whole new set of tires or even major engine work. That's hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars tacked onto the cost of just one journey. So, assuming our truck has survived the physical beating from the roads, it arrives at the next great hurdle, a national border. And this one is entirely man-made. You know, it's less of a checkpoint and more of a bureaucratic maze. It's not one simple stamp. A driver has to deal with inspections from customs, then checks from the national police, then scrutiny from other local authorities, often with some unofficial facilitation fees needed along the way. And then, once you finally get through, the whole song and dance can start all over again on the other side. So what's the cost of all this red tape in terms of time? Well, on average, logistics companies have to build in a buffer of 3 to 5 extra days for every single border they have to cross. Think about that. That's time and money just gone. The truck is just sitting there, burning cash. And if you think that's bad, it gets worse. During peak times, like the harvest season, when all those agricultural goods are trying to get to market, that delay can swell to an entire week. Just imagine, perishable food sitting in a truck for 7 days, just waiting to cross an imaginary line on a map. Okay, after battling the roads, navigating the bureaucracy, what is the actual true cost of getting our container to its destination? Let's tally up the final bill. The numbers are pretty jarring. On average, it costs about 9 cents to move 1 ton of goods for 1 kilometer in Africa. In Europe, it's less than half that, around 4 cents. This massive difference is the direct result of everything we've been talking about. So why the huge gap? Well, it's a perfect storm. The terrible roads mean trucks burn way more fuel and need constant, expensive maintenance. But there's another huge factor we haven't even touched on yet: risk. And that risk leads to some incredibly steep insurance premiums. Just how big is that risk? Well, get this. In South Africa alone, cargo hijackings account for an estimated $80 million in losses every single year. When you're dealing with that level of insecurity, insurance stops being a small line item and becomes a major business expense. So our container's journey has been, well, a bit of a nightmare. But this story isn't just about the problems. It's also about some incredibly ambitious solutions. So let's zoom out now from our one truck to a whole continent-wide vision for the future. And the big idea, the grand plan, is something called the Trans-African Highway Network. This is a massive, continent-spanning dream. We're talking about 9 huge highway projects designed to finally link up Africa's major cities and ports. to create the seamless arteries for trade that the continent so desperately needs. And look, these aren't just lines on a map. These are potential game changers. You've got the Northern Corridor in East Africa, the incredibly busy Abidjan-Lagos Corridor in the west, and the absolutely vital North-South Corridor, which links South Africa to the resource-rich interior. And new projects, like the Lobito Corridor, are coming online, adding even more potential. The ultimate goal here is to attack every single problem we've discussed. Better roads? That means lower costs and way more efficiency. Better connections? That fuels the kind of deep economic integration that can literally transform entire regions, making it easier for neighboring countries to trade with each other than ever before. And really, that brings us right back to where we started. We followed one container on one really tough journey. But if these huge projects can fix that one journey, make it faster, cheaper, and safer, what happens when you multiply that by millions of trucks every single day? That's the question, and the answer could very well shape the future of an entire continent's economy.